Here we go.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. We're just starting our meeting now. Welcome. And we're
I
looking.
put vulnerability on there.
You did, Carrie?
Yeah.
Huh?
Our students really need to feel like they trust each other and have respect for each other. And it goes so deep in the ESL classroom. It goes everywhere from being vulnerable with who they are as people to being willing to make mistakes
Yeah.
And they just really have to put themselves out there on so many different levels.
I like that. So the vulnerability about being the vulnerability around LGBTQ plus is an extension of the vulnerability that already exists in the classroom. Like
all of it. Yeah, because it's so deeply ingrained in your identity. It's who you are.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's a good point. Yeah, it is. And, we're talking about identity here. We're talking about just like there's room in the classroom for people who, come from a different religious background. There needs to be room for people who have a variety of sexuality, a variety of gender expression.
Yeah, one of the things that I told my very small group of students, and Doria, did you say you have 35 plus that come to your class on a regular basis? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Me
At
too.
one point, I had to turn students away because there was no more chairs or space for them to sit. So
That's
yeah, it's calmed down a
amazing.
little bit at in the middle of the semester, but they're still coming strong. So that's really happy. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. But one of the things I told my students was that we have to trust each other and me, that they have to trust me that I'm not going to, you know, pounce on them if they make a mistake. They have to be able, it's a listening and speaking course, and they have to be able to speak without fear that there's going to be any judgment from anyone in the class. And I made it, I actually spent quite a bit of time on just the issue of trust, and that this was a safe place. I did not make it specific to sexuality at all. I just was saying, the only way that you're really going to learn is if we all trust each other. And my birthday's in January, and they threw me a birthday party, like surprise, right at the beginning of the semester. So now we've had a birthday party for every student, and with that size class, we can. We just have it at the break time. It's not like it takes the whole class, but and they've gotten really, cohesive, and so I actually just came out to them last night. I had come out to two of them earlier in the semester, but the rest of the class, I just was like, I was telling them I went out to dinner with my family, and I wanted to show them, and I showed them the taco I ordered because we talk about tacos and how much everybody loves tacos. And one of the students said, "I thought you were going to show us pictures of your family," and I'm like, oh, sure. And here's my wife. And I'm like, I haven't really made a big deal about it because there are, there are different feelings and different cultures about this. I'm like, but does it matter to you guys? And they're like, no, not at all. And one of the ones said, I tell my daughter all the time that only thing I care about is she grows up to be a good person. And that's all. And I don't care about anything else. She just has to be good, kind. And like, that's a good mom. But so it was, and I think probably this meeting was a little bit of an impetus of that. Anyway, so that was one of the things that Carol and I had talked about before we talked about this topic was that even as instructors, we have difficulty with that because we don't want to get rejected by our students. We don't want, you know, everybody drop out of our class. And some cultures really have, it's a really taboo thing. And so there's a little bit of concern on my part for that. So, so what I'd love to hear too, when we get around to it, is just what those of you who don't identify as gay, just if you have any thoughts and suggestions for those of us that do. So, but you know, carry on, Carol.
That was like super brave of you, Diane, like to make a decision and like show up. As we say in flamenco, ole, ole tu, ole.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
it is like the 15th week of an 18th week semester, so it's not, it doesn't really feel that brave, but thank you.
but you're right. It's like let the inclusivity start with us. Yeah, we make such a point of having the students, trust us and take risks. For me, it's always this, I don't want to break that, like I'm there to teach English.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there to help these students improve their level and move forward with their lives. And I'm a lesbian. And if they get to talk about their lives, so do I.
Right.
And so do my gay students. So do my trans students. So but I really like
you have trans students? Have you had trans students?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now she only showed up a couple times, but I made sure that everybody understood that was she, and her name, I forget what her name was, like Rosa or something,
Mm-hmm.
that, hey.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was going to be. At first, people were like, but then it was just like, okay, let's get together and do this activity. So, yeah. Okay. I have another survey here, so Diane just said that she came out to her students, which I think is a huge thing to making her classroom a huge stride. But I'm curious what other folks have done. Have you gotten another link to put in different answers? No? Okay. Let me...
We can go to Menti and use that code that's on, oh, there it is.
Yeah, I resent the thing in the chart. All right. In the chat.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, maybe it's something you haven't done,
I just put in a typo. It's like peanut butter and jelly somehow or something. But I'm
sure it represents somebody.
PBJ, all right, PBJ. Yeah, sorry about that.
Pan. It represents the pan community.
Too fast.
What's a bamboozle? Oh,
it's a game. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like oh my God, I can't talk. It's a game where it's like it'll be a board with numbers, and then they say the number and it flips over to a question, and then they answer it together. So Kahoot, is on their phones. where they're each answering individually, but Bamboozle doesn't have that apparatus that I know of. And so it's just people yelling out, or I'll ask, a student, and you can you can put in your own images and put your own subject, object pronouns in there, etc.
That's awesome. Okay. I'm going to have to look up Bamboozle. Ooh. So I'm not sure who wrote this response. Although our curriculum is heteronormative, there are gay subtexts, and I'll amplify those when I see them. I'm like, ooh, what book is that?
Oh, I wrote that. Actually, we just read a short story by Henry, and it's called The Last Leaf. And the story is about two women who live together. And although it's not explicitly stated, the inference is that they're girlfriends. And so I just kind of said that as we were reading the story aloud. I'm like, oh, looks like they're girlfriends. And this other student said, like, oh yeah, so it doesn't explicitly say that, but that's an inference. I'm like, that's an inference. So like without missing a beat, without missing a beat, they went straight into like, oh, so that's the inference. And it felt like such a small thing. Like, it's not super brave, but also my heart was kind of pounding when I did that. I was like, oh, did I say that out loud? They're lesbians, but it does have a lesbian subtext. I checked Google and I was right. So, but no, it's not explicitly stated. And of course, our curriculum, all of the stories that we read, they don't amplify those. So I think like that's one of the things I can do is amplify those stories when I see them.
Yeah, I don't think that sounds small.
No, not at all.
And was that poem included in like a classroom resource, or did you add it?
No, it was a short story, and it was part of our resources. It was part of the district approved curriculum.
Got it.
So, but there's also like, we'll have short stories. And I mean, I did this like whole research. I spent hours like Googling everyone's names, and some of them are obviously gay, but they don't bring attention to that. They don't bring attention to the subtext that are sometimes in those stories. And so I decided one of the things that I was going to do to make the classroom more inclusive is that I was going to amplify that. If there was no connection, if it was, then of course not. But when there was an obvious connection with this one, then I was gonna, so, but yeah, I mean, my heart was pounding, but everyone else was just like, oh yeah.
Yeah, inference. Yeah, cool.
What was the name of that story again?
It's called The Last Leaf.
Yeah.
I'll type it leaf on a tree.
Leaf.
Yeah.
Yvette, do you mind if I ask you if you identify as gay?
I don't.
Okay. So what is your?
I identify as pretty hetero.
What is your? I mean, I love hearing. I mean, so do you know what is your motivation? I guess why did this even occur to you to do that?
Because I guess, gosh, I don't know. I've always, I used to teach adults as well, and some of my students also came from cultures that were pretty patriarchal, very sexist, machismo, and I grew up in that kind of culture as well. I don't know. I've always just tried very hard to be a co-conspirator. I've tried very hard to be an accomplice. And so, so this is just something that I've done for a long time. And this is my first academic year, and I feel like it's a safe place for me to do that because there's an instructional coach who is the head of the DEI committee, and her daughter identifies as a member of the community. And so I know I have that institutional support. So, but even in cases where I didn't have that institutional support, I had legal support. So like, I remember giving everyone a lecture and saying like, this is the California Education Code, and this is the requirements, and this needs to be equitable for all students. So I've given those like lectures or whatever, but I don't know. Also, I mean, not marginalized in terms of sexuality, but definitely in terms of my ethnicity and perceived race. So I guess I just you know, ever since I've been an adult, I've always had a lot of, you know, gay and trans friends. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
But when you were sharing that, I was like, wow, you have students who are reading literature. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
They have to. They're in high
much
school.
lower level. And sometimes I wonder, like, when we're introducing pronouns, you know, what happens if somebody has a, you know, them pronoun or some pronoun other than he or she. And that one of the articles that Diane or somebody had posted in the Padlet talked about that, and how, you know, the research shows that yes,
I
students
think that was abs.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, students can wrap their heads around it, and it's not an issue.
Yeah.
You know. So I thought that was really cool.
Who wrote the one, I use inclusive language, saying partner?
That was me.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
go ahead.
if
Yeah.
I know my students already, then I'll know who is their partner is. But if I don't, I either say partner or to make sure that they know what partner means. And I'll say, you know, your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your wife or your husband, whatever we're talking about. So just like something small like that, I think they understand why I'm saying that, even though I'm not saying it. I'm saying this because.
Right.
And then, yeah, just in my slides, or I think someone else said that as well, that examples, selecting pictures. Yeah, I always make sure that I have all the couples included there. And I think that again, just pictures are powerful, and it sends the message that my belief is that this is normal. This is, you know, for lack of a better word, this is the world and everybody's included.
Well, we are also teaching American culture. I mean, that's what our students want to know from us also. They want to know what are norms, what are expectations and standards. And so yeah, I think it's very relevant in the ESL classroom. I like the all couples pictures idea.
But if anyone has more ideas for what we can do to put it out there, I'm happy to learn more.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, we have a comment from Julie. She says, I got disconnected, but I explain they, them when teaching pronouns and use real life examples with LGBTQ+ people in them. And Abby says, me too. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really powerful. Aside from having an explicit conversation, just this is our world.
Yeah.
This is how you talk about it.
And I think really quick, another thing that's just easy to do, and it kind of naturally flows in this conversation, is when, you know, we meet them at the beginning of a semester and we ask them to write their names on their little desk cards. We can invite them to put down your pronouns if you'd like, you know, Doria, she, her, and then that's just kind of a natural way. And then, you know, as well, if someone prefers a certain pronoun. And then maybe it'll spark discussion as to why are we doing this if it's not familiar with everyone.
Yeah,
We had this fun activity for International Pronouns Day where me and some of the other members of the DEI committee, we made buttons that said he, her, or I'm sorry, like he, him, she, her, they, them. So we had a whole bunch of buttons, and then we put them out in little bowls with a sign that explained international pronouns and invited students to take them, and they loved them. I was really, I did not think it was going to go over as well as it did, but they really liked them. And then even some of the students gave us some ideas, like using XE. I don't know how to pronounce it, but instead of like, they have their own ideas because of social media and everything. So they're like, what about XEX something, X? I don't know what it was, but it started with an X, and it was exciting.
I know, I'm having the same reaction, Carol, that there's an International Pronoun Day, but also I'm also like, Yvette so clearly teaches teenagers because they're so on board.
Yeah.
They're like so ahead of the game,
Yeah.
and that I love that. That's
Yeah.
But like, what, even for a beginner level, what a great thing to have pronoun buttons.
yes.
It's fun. You can make them, or
Mhm.
you can work that into the curriculum so easily. I love
Yeah. Yeah, especially because it's if you start at the beginning, you don't have to unlearn it. You know what I mean? You don't have to unlearn the binary. It's like
Mhm.
you start from the beginning, and I'm like, I'm in level 1. I mean, there is a level 0, but that's literacy because so many folks are learning new alphabets. So I feel like level 1, this is like I have that opportunity to say, yes, this is this and this is this. And this is for folks who don't feel male or female, or maybe both. And this is an option, and some people are completely silent and I don't know if that means anything. And some people are like, oh, yes, I know. And you know what I mean? So it's just easy to do a little. It depends. It can be awkward, but also it's, it's technically easy to do. I don't need like a whole lot of expensive resources.
Mhm.
But it's interesting too, because if you think of how, ooh, thank you, Diane, for sharing that. If
It's
you
the
think
third Wednesday of October every year.
if you think of how cognition develops and then language, it's like if the students, if they're, oh wait, I don't remember which screen I'm sharing. If you create the concept of people having same-sex partners, or people having people belonging to a non-binary gender, then I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but it's like maybe it's a new concept that now they can talk about with the new language that they're learning.
Mhm.
I feel like with English as well, some languages are just steeped in masculine and feminine. French, the law and the law, as related to everything. So we don't, yeah, I was just thinking about that as, I don't want to say our language is neutral. Language is never neutral. It's very nuanced, but we don't have those dividing lines as far as associating items and certain words with.
We have like biological gender reflected in humans and animals, but yeah, Romance languages have objects have gender. And then you have German and I think Russian, where human beings can be neutral gender. Like the word for a young woman, Mädchen, is neutral, which okay.
Wow.
But yeah, it does make sense to sort of teach this along with the language, because it's the conceptualization. That's really,
It is. It's a worldview, right? Like I think that about language all the time. Like it's just so steeped in meaning and power.
That reminded me of an incident that or a situation in my class where I feel like some students associate like inclusion and acceptance as just an American thing. They were like, we were talking about, if I went to your country, your home country, what tips would you give me? And they were saying, oh, if you came to my country, you should wear a hijab, because that's how it is here. And they said, I have a lot of gay friends here, but, and that's not okay in my country. So I thought I was kind of taken aback, where it's like kind of separate it. I've also had students in the past, I think at San Diego State, someone told me that like, oh, in Oman, there are no gay people. And like really believing that, that they didn't exist there. So I think it's great that they're accepting them here, but I felt bad to think that they didn't accept them in their native country.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we don't have gay people in Egypt. Okay.
Yeah. So I know too, like with like some of them being so religious, like how, I don't know, how you increase their acceptance without them thinking that just because you don't share their religion, you don't understand. So I just found that this is, like I said, this is my first semester in this population where we talk so much about ourselves. So, and I'm pretty sure I have a couple of students in my class who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. So yeah, I'm interested in knowing suggestions on how to handle it when they make statements where it's like only okay here because like that's our
And I wonder if they're even if that's intended to reflect their own opinion or the state of things. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because I think about my Muslim students, and I know that, my Armenian students, like not everybody, because no group is a monolith, but do like to talk about drinking. And my Muslim students don't drink. They're very observant. And it seems to be like they're like, this is a mixed crowd. You know what I mean? Like I don't sense discomfort around that difference. And so I imagine that, and a lot of my students, as is probably true for a lot of people, have lived in a lot of countries by the time they get here. And so I wonder, you know what I mean? I wonder if I have like a preconception of like, you don't want to hear about this because it's not something that you grew up with. But I sometimes I'm surprised to realize that that is not always true. And I had a student in a breakout. She's Muslim, which I didn't know. She's from Turkmenistan, and I put her in a Zoom breakout with a male student. And later she wrote me and said, please don't put me in a breakout room with a male student. I'm Muslim and that's not okay. And I felt really bad about it. And I talked to my chair and I said, I guess I'll be cautious with my Muslim students. And she was like, they're not all the same. And I was like, oh, right. She said, some don't care at all. It's virtual. So some people care about virtual versus, she said, you just can't assume either way. And I'm like, I guess I'll be learning all the time.
Yeah, I've had students who talk to me about that too, and at SDSU. But yeah, even like with the alcohol, I do see like the judgment when there's talks about that. But yeah, when it's your identity, I feel like it's so much more than a difference of opinion. So it's just something I hadn't seen before. But yeah.
This is wonderful conversation. I wish we had more time. I have to split because I'm going to be teaching a class, and maybe I'll try a pronoun activity tonight. I'll let you know how it goes. But I had asked Diane if it was possible for us. A lot of folks have mentioned using inclusive materials and all that, and I wonder if that's something that we could post on the Padlet so that we can share with everybody. I don't know of any materials that already exist that are inclusive. I feel like most of us create them, but anything that you'd be willing to share, I think would be great.
It's a great idea. Will you I
The
know
link-
that I should know where the Padlet is on the CATESOL website, but can you?
Oh,
Yeah,
sure. Here,
I'm
hold on.
popping it in here right
Okay.
now.
Let me pull it up. Hmm,
Should that should be it.
here it is.
I just put it in chat, Carol.
Great.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Great.
You.
Go to the other side so they can see your cute picture.
I know, I just saw that. That's very nice. Diane, where's your photo?
Oh,
She bumped me down to the bottom.
I didn't need to wait. Oh, here it is.
She took over. It's like, yeah, you're not doing anything. I'm totally teasing, Carol.
There's, wait, there's Diane.
Huh?
I said, there you are.
There you
Oh, I
are.
know. Yes, yes.
And I think, oh, wait, what happened to Abby? Abby, we didn't delete you, did we?
It's possible. I'm no longer the assistant coordinator. That would be okay.
Oh, well, can have the assistant coordinator emeritus. In any event, I put this here. So if anybody wants to come back and add stuff, that would be great.
And you can add stuff. You don't have to. I just checked the setting.
Anyone who has the link can add.
Yep.
Okay.
The filter profanity, replace bad words with emojis is on. Do you want me to take that off so you can
Curse away.
curse away? Yeah, exactly.
What's your call? What's your call, Diane?
I did. I took that off. We're grown-ups.
That's right. Damn it. So,
All right. Yeah. And really, I'd love to see this Padlet be a living, breathing thing that we contribute to and benefit from. So far it's just been Carol and I that have put stuff on there. So we are not the end all of information on this. So we would love you to add some stuff.
maybe we can like do that at our next meeting. We can do like a share of inclusive materials.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I love that.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna do I just assumed there weren't any out there, but maybe I should just look and see if I'm wrong.
Well, like now that everybody's using AI, maybe we can say AI.
Oh yeah, there you go.
A whole communication class lesson or conversation class lesson with two big old butches. How about that?
And see what the chatbot does.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna peace out.
All right. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna head to, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for coming, you guys, and have a wonderful month till we see you next time. Carrie.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Good to see you. Bye, Yvette.